Hello, I'm Brad Burrow.
And I'm David Jackson.
And this is the Digital Disruptors Podcast. Today we have Charles Spaedy. He's the president of Crown Dumpster. Mm-hmm. Okay, I see you're a KU boy, right?
Yes, yes.
Went to KU. That's awesome. Graduated in 2022, so you're fairly new in business.
Yes, yeah.
Which is, I think, is really cool. Tell us a little bit about your company. You know, your involvement, how it started. Just kind of give us the 911.
Yeah, sure.
Or I should say 411, probably, right? 911. Well,
emergency.
you probably get 911 calls, right?
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah.
Come get this crap out of my house.
Yeah, thankfully not. But yeah, so started back in 2019. We always kind of wanted it's somewhat of a family business a little bit. We, looked at a few different options, tree trimming companies, franchising a roll-off dumpster company, a few, like I said, different options.
So your family was wanting to start a business?
More of my father, and
Okay.
he wanted something he works full-time somewhere else right now, but he was, able to start something, sort of like a legacy type of thing,
Okay.
to be able to provide it for, his kids. I'm the only kid involved, though. I have 4 other siblings as well, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you landed it.
Yeah.
Wanted to do a dumpster company.
Yeah, started it 2019, like I said, and the first year I was pretty involved with my little brother. We started, unloading the dumpsters, putting the stickers on, things like that, which was a great experience. In between that, I started to go to school, went the community college route a bit, and then transferred to KU, spent 2 years there. And then in my senior year, we went in business. Sorry, backing up. We went in business with a partner before, and things went okay. And then I pretty much joined back in August of 2022. And then that partner has since left the company, and then I've been running it since.
So did you know in college that you were going to be going right into it?
A little bit.
Business?
I always liked the idea of it. But no, I was more focused on just,
The college experience?
Yeah, the college experience.
You one of the guys down at the end of the KU basketball.
Getting my shirt off. And
no. That's funny. Yeah, I didn't know that it was right in 2022.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, good.
Pretty soon.
Did you have a say in the decision to kind of go that direction? The Crown Dumpster? Of that kind of business?
Yeah. I think it's good because it's asset. I don't think anybody wakes up and says, I want to do trash removal, because it's just not glamorous work. It's honest and it's simple, for a bank to loan against. It's asset heavy. If things, suddenly fail, you can always have somewhat of an asset sale. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, failure is, it's not the worst thing.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I've been really surprised. So this is something we can talk about a little bit too, but how many dumpster companies there are.
Okay.
There are
So
a lot of dumpster
that was
companies.
the thing. So back in like 2017, 2018, there was nobody. People would have the market research that we did. It would be 3-4 weeks for general contractors, people that needed dumpsters to get it. And then all of a sudden, like right before COVID, right after COVID, they're everywhere. I mean, junk removal, trash removal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many franchises are out there.
It's insane.
Like just here in Kansas City,
Absolutely.
There's dozens.
There's people, I mean, every time that I drive, every single time I'm in the car, I feel like I see a new one that I've never seen before.
Yeah,
which is nuts, because that's all I do is look for them.
Yeah.
You
It's
think
crazy.
you just notice them, like, when you see a new car that you like, all of a sudden you start seeing them everywhere.
everyone
You think
has
that's
them.
what's happening?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
So-
I guess that being said too, like with all of the franchises that are popping up with these huge budgets, like what do you do to kind of stand out? Like how are you like trying to market yourself, and what challenges did you face before you really got into digital marketing?
Yeah.
So that's a good question, because I think there's a couple ways that we're approaching it. I think there's always a need for it, and I think Kansas City's such a growing market that no matter what you do, you can't really mess up. As long as your price is right, you show up when you're going to show up. And thankfully, we're well established enough to have our client base. from our perspective, we're starting more of like a junk removal side of things. So providing the laborers as well as the dumpsters.
Oh, really?
Which is good from like a contractor side, so they don't have to mess with, temp agencies, stuff like that to get their laborers in there.
It's a great idea.
So that's kind of where we're kind of pushing it more towards, because we've primarily been residential and we're transitioning more to commercial and trying to grab more of the market share for commercial.
Yeah, that's excellent. So I know that we had met about 2 years ago,
Yes.
roughly, and it's been pretty fun.
Yes.
It's been a pretty good journey. However, what did you start to see when you started kind of putting a good digital strategy in place? Because I know in the sea of franchises, it's really hard to stand out as any company, let alone dumpster rental, junk removal.
So when I started to take over Crown in August of 22, that initial 8 months was really honing in on the digital marketing, because at the time, all we relied on, and what a lot of dumpster companies rely on, especially starting out, is what's called brokers. And basically, they're a marketing company that has such a share in the internet and Google space, where these haulers, who are usually mom and pop shops, they need somebody to pretty much do their marketing for them. They take a cut, and then
Is that just local or national?
that's national.
So
Some of these
national
people,
brokers then.
national
Oh, yeah.
brokers, they make
Oh, yeah.
they make decent money, and they're
That'd
just
be like an Angie's List type thing or something
yes,
like that.
but like even on a specific to dumpster rentals, porta potties, things like that.
Okay.
And wouldn't
Who knew?
and you wouldn't. And then there's such a market share for them. And what's nice, I mean, for Crown, it really worked out because it was able to get us going off our feet for the first 3 years. And during that time, and I was in school, I was just doing the research, and it's like, these numbers don't make sense. It's not sustainable, because these brokers, they kind of pit the haulers against each other. They lower the margins, and then at some point you're just kind of hauling for free, which that's not why we're in business. So after that, I kind of really educated myself on the digital area, created blogs, created posts, and then I knew that I wouldn't have enough time to dedicate myself fully to marketing. Like, I understand that we need a market and how important it is, but then I started to really look at marketing companies. I probably interviewed 10 to 15 marketing companies, and David, or Techie, was kind of a referral through somebody. They're like, hey, you should sit down. And I sat down. I'm like, there's certain companies that get it, and there's certain companies that don't. And Techie is definitely one of those companies.
I like him.
Yeah.
They're going to keep me
Partners,
around.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Come on. Exploded.
Yeah. Yes.
So but that's an excellent point. I mean, I think David and I have talked about this a lot. We are in a transitional period from a marketing standpoint. I mean, it used to be that you would, we've been in business 27 years.
Wow.
I would have a sales team. We would send out demos. I'd make a phone call, whatever. There was a certain way that we did sales. None of that works anymore. None of it. And I think it's one of the reasons we wanted to do this podcast is people don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's completely different than it's ever been right now. The online aspect, you've got so many competitors out there. Where did you, I guess the question I have is, what was it that you saw in Techie that said, these are the guys?
A few things. One, I think for marketing companies, accountability is one of the main reasons. And you can't hold a marketing company accountable unless you know what they're actually doing. Like, if you can speak the lingo.
It's
because
true.
business owners, you need to understand the SEO side of it, what you need to do for marketing, who your ideal customer is, if you're going after commercial or residential users. Techie kind of, and I feel like this is a podcast about Techie, but
Well, we want to get into
it turned into it
yeah.
because
I
it's like
appreciate it.
you need to be able to track these things. You need to be able to communicate with your marketing company.
Right.
And they're not going to know, like, not every single marketing company is going to be an expert in your field. You're the expert, but you need to be able to translate that into, I guess, a task for them to do and know kind of what you need to focus on already. Because a marketing company can only go so far. It's kind of like, I mean, with AI, we were just talking about this earlier. You need to have the right prompts to get the right outcome.
Right.
Especially for AI. Like, yeah, it's great, but if you don't know what to ask it, you're not going to get any results.
Yeah. So one of the things we wanted to talk a little bit about is how are you generating leads? Like what are some of the things that you're doing? You know, you don't want to give away the secret sauce to your competitors, but I mean, what's working?
I think there's a lot of nonsense with other companies, especially brokers, where somebody will call in, they don't know what they're getting, and they don't know what the price is. For us, we've always had transparent pricing, a very clear call to action. I mean, it's a dumpster rental. Sometimes people don't know, okay, like exactly how it works, but most people can understand. You set something down, you fill it up, we pick it up, and that's it. Seems
pretty easy.
It is. It is. It really. I mean, there's obviously some moving stuff to it, but that's the main thing. So I think to separate ourselves is I really think it's just being transparent and clear, and having the good brand because. I mean, if you see on the websites, you need to have, your reviews listed. You need to have people invoke an emotion when they pull up your site. And whether that's just, I mean, even as simple as dumpster rentals, but we have a dog on ours, a little bit different, or my dog. So
I believe in having dogs around.
Oh yeah.
There's one here. Isn't there?
You know, having dogs on your website boosts conversion rate by 50%. 50%.
You should just. I mean, I'd be interested. Like having animals, like it brings a humanistic aspect of not like a local dumpster company or a local company rather than. Just obviously you want polish if you're trying to do something like that. But I think dogs, cats, stuff like that.
Yeah,
people like
the authenticity. That's what I talk to people about all the time, and that's why I mean, even in the past 2 weeks, I've talked to a number of different business owners, and I've told all of them, you need a video. Like you need a video, you need a video, you need a video, because that's one of the greatest ways to get across that authenticity to the audience in a way that everyone can digest and understand. Pictures too, for sure, and pictures of certain things. But, oh man, I told everyone this last week, like you have to have a video and you have to have a YouTube channel. Like I've been preaching that.
And I don't have it either. So I need
what is happening?
We're in the right spot.
No, that's the next step. That's really going to be the big, by the way, everyone, this is the end of 2024 and going into 2025, video is the key. Like it truly is the key. And that's, as Brad said earlier, one of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast. So I did want to also ask, so with putting forth that authenticity online, with, really honing in on some of the digital marketing strategies, what has that allowed Crown Dumpster to become this year?
I would say, one, we are, obviously busy, right? So that's the most important because especially in our industry, if you're, it's kind of a saying that I have in my head. I don't know if it's actually a saying, but like if your wheels aren't rolling, you're not making any money because like even if you're like just not, your margin isn't great on this load. If you're just sitting there, a truck sitting there is a lot worse than a truck, that's actually moving.
Yeah.
So no matter what, you're getting income. But I think what has been beneficial is replacing those broker accounts because last year we were around, I want to say 60 to 70% of our income, our revenue was through a broker. We have replaced that and grown by 12% this year.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, and next year I think we're gonna probably grow.
Get rid of the brokers.
Yeah, we don't have.
What's a margin that a broker takes? Probably
it's
30.
Probably around 20 to 30%.
Man.
And it's going down and down because you have more and more haulers and more business, then, so it's just supply and demand. So
jeez,
that's a lot.
Yeah,
it's kind of like restaurants with like the DoorDashes and the Uber Eats. They're paying those guys anywhere from 25 to 35%.
Sad, really.
Yeah. I mean, these middlemen that's a huge part of our economy. Like the middlemen, they're everywhere.
They are.
Yeah, and they're making everything a lot more expensive too.
Oh yeah.
You could probably. What if you split the difference on that margin, gave your customers a better price, and you still made more money?
Yep.
That'd be a big win for everybody.
Yeah, win.
Yeah.
It's just that customers, and that's where making your company a marketing company. Like in my mind too, it's just like we're no longer a dumpster company. And I know people say this, but I know and to really internalize, you're not a dumpster company. You're a marketing company that sells dumpsters.
There you go.
So your marketing is it's the most important thing. It really is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I don't think a lot of small businesses think that way.
No.
Do you, David? I mean, honestly,
you can't, because
you have to think that way, though.
You don't have the capacity when you're small. And one thing too is I've ran into a lot of people that are operator, because small businesses are always not always, but usually owner operators. And when you're an operator and an owner and trying to balance all these things, you just get too bogged down. Basically, you can't do. I mean, you all obviously are a technician, and then you're trying to do too many things. So if you're able to, sub out the marketing company, which a lot of people do, but then they don't get the results because they're not tracking it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
tracking, that was another thing that I was going to mention.
They just kind of set it and forget it. And one thing I really don't like is you see a lot of times, different marketing companies, even IT, those two things, everyone knows they need it, but they don't really understand it. And so, unfortunately, it allows for a lot of jargon, a lot of big words, a lot of things that I'm regurgitating from either a YouTube course or whatever that I just say without having actually put it into practice. And they don't know what they're doing. They're selling it, and it sounds good, and then they pay all this money, and they don't get the result.
Absolutely.
And they can't stand on what they say.
People that are actually experts are doing that, right?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like it's unfortunate for our industry.
But
when you find the right synergy and that right person, it really, really works well.
One of the problems is, not to get down this rabbit hole too much, but as business owners, and David and I have talked about this, how do we evaluate somebody that is saying all the right things, SEO and PPC, and all these things, and I don't even know what that really means. Now I obviously do, but there was a times like you could be saying that, wow, this guy's really smart, and he's taking my money every month, but I'm getting no results. That's where I think the kind of the great unknown is in digital marketing right now, is that we just as business owners, I can tell you how to make a video all day, and I can do a great job at that, but I'm learning digital marketing, you know, and I don't know if what you're saying is right or wrong all the time, as I'm learning. And I think a lot of business owners are like that. So where do you go to find somebody that you can actually trust in what they're saying and what they're doing? And that's one of the challenges.
Yeah, it's tough. Like if I were to kind of speak to that, it would be all in the data. It's like, how good are you at interpreting this complex thing such as SEO or PPC and translating it into pure business speak?
Right.
I've probably told this story before, but the USB, like I really like telling the story about USB drives, because
I've heard of that. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
USB?
No, I'm just teasing.
It's like, I think I know. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's there was a story. I worked at a retail store, selling computer parts, and a gentleman came in and he said, well, I've got a problem. I need to get all of these pictures from one computer to another computer, and I don't know how to do it. And so I just say, well, just get a USB drive. And he said, well, what's a USB drive? He had no idea. He had never heard of that before. And I thought, wow. But instead of just jumping and saying, oh, you haven't heard of that, or, oh, I said, wow, we don't share the same. He has a different experience than me. He's focused on different things. So I said, well, a USB drive is like a water bucket. I take the bucket to one well, take the water out, move over to the other well, and dump it in. And he got it immediately. And not only that, but he bought like 14 or 15 USB drives like right away.
Record-setting USB sale right there.
But I remember that story because I remember that was one of the first times where I thought, okay, not everyone is going to understand it, but bridging that gap and being able to do it effectively, I think that's how someone knows what they're talking about. Especially when it comes to IT or digital marketing. So I think that's really important.
Yeah.
And the average business owner doesn't understand any of this.
Yeah.
Maybe the USB they understand.
Yeah.
But digital marketing, they don't understand it.
But I think there's a disconnect, and I know everybody says, oh, go turn to YouTube, but there's a lot of YouTube channels that really hone in on link and you don't even have to do it yourself. You can just watch the videos, and that's basically what I did to be able to communicate and see, because at the end of the day, it's all numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, digital marketing is just your ROI. That's all it is. How many leads are you getting per dollar spent? And everybody wants to talk about that, and everybody wants to say, hey, we boost our leads 2,000%. It's like, I don't think you did. If you did, we'd all be. But I think,
Sure you did.
yeah, it's like, well, when your leads are zero, then
I got 2 leads and it's 2,000. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I think YouTube really has been helpful for the actual just knowledge that's out there for different guys and staying up to date, because it's changing. It really
all the time. Yeah.
I think is interesting, David, is the behind the scenes stuff that's happening. It seems easy, spent this much, get this many leads, but there's so many things that go into it, like keywords and what you're paying, and negative keywords and all those things. And you really have to have somebody like Techie that really understand the nuances of how to do that correctly, because you can throw away a lot of money pretty quickly on PPC campaigns by doing it wrong and not getting results. Yeah. That's the thing, understanding that. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit, because it does make, even like for you, the keywords that you probably want to be found for.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah. And so, man, you don't want to be found for this. You want to be found for this. And, honing that in is there's a science to it.
Yeah. Google is really glad to take your money.
Yeah.
AdWords is their biggest moneymaker. Like out of everything that Google does, which, massive company, out of everything they do, their biggest moneymaker is still advertising and selling ads. And so, and what they've done to that platform is very interesting. I mean, of course, you have to make the shareholders more money. And, and we're not going to go down that path, but you really have to watch it like almost every day if you want to get the best results from it.
And if you don't, you can get stung pretty quickly, can't you?
Yeah, you will get stung. Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was just a little bit about the value that your service brings. How do you strive to deliver value to your customers? So let's say, I'm doing a new room in my building here, and I need to get rid of I need to tear out something and then put in new. How would I get perceived value from working with Crown?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
This
is a long question right there.
I think the value on the dumpster side is there's kind of 3 things. And this is really true for any business, honestly, is the price has to be right, the communication good, and then pretty much just show up, like do what you say you're going to do. And if you can master those 3 things, which is interesting to say because 9 out of 10 dumpster companies don't.
Really?
Like, so many people, they call them and they don't get a call back. Wow. Like customers say, like, you were the first person to answer the phone. And we see on
I've had that happen to me.
I only answer 50% of our phone calls.
Not getting that way.
Techie's all over me. It's like, how do you know these people are? It's like, well, But if you're able to say what you're going to do, and I think the right branding and backing up, I think especially for dumpster companies, it's differentiating the commercial versus the residential, because residential are one-time users. Commercial is a whole different ballgame. And it's also, there's a lot more money to be made in commercial, just flat out. And I think a lot of dumpster companies haven't tapped into, I guess, kind of marketing themselves to the commercial side, because that's the most important.
Who's your decision maker on the commercial side? Typically, who would you be speaking to?
I mean, you'd want to be, it's
like to get project manager or something.
Project manager, superintendents are the guys that order it. And then usually the person that's like, okay, yeah, that's fine, is somewhere in the management side. So that could be C-suite, but it depends on the size of the company. So, yeah.
So the project manager says, I want to work with these guys, and then you got to go through with the accounting people.
Exactly,
and
to get through all squared away. And the project manager, they know who, that's definitely your relationship, project and superintendent. If you're getting with them, you're good.
So from a digital marketing standpoint, how do you get to that guy? Good
I don't know.
question.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard. I mean, unless you're popping up on like their TikTok feed, I guess,
Yeah.
or showing up to job sites. Like that's really where you're going to meet them. It's job sites and things like that. Because those guys are, I mean, they're not necessarily, unless they need something right away, they might be Googling dumpster rental, but that's... Yeah.
Are they buying specifically on price, or is it
Price and how fast you can get there. Because some of those guys, they are just like, I need it in 30 minutes. Like, well...
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like some project manager, it's like... Okay.
Do you
like
do that?
they recognize that. We'll do same day, which is honestly rare for a lot of people, but it depends on the commercial side. Like if they're a large customer, yeah, absolutely, we'll make sure we accommodate them.
Man,
So,
you got to plan for that. Then
Yeah,
somehow.
you do.
It's like,
You really do. And it's the thing is too is the more trucks you have, the more dumpsters you have, the easier it is because geographically, this truck's in this area. It's much easier than if you're all the way south or something like that. So.
Yeah, and responding quickly, like that's important because that's going to leave a really strong impression for next time, and they're going to call you.
Yep.
I mean, there is a lot more that goes into the commercial side than residential. Like I feel like we can do a podcast on that.
Just on
because
that, yeah.
That marketing
is.
is very specific. Yeah.
It is extremely, and I mean, I've been trying to break through for the past year, and I'm slowly starting to get traction. But it takes a while to get into these large companies that they don't trust. Like one little thing goes wrong, and you're out.
They're done.
Like they're going back to their previous vendor, which, I mean, that's the world we live in. But
yeah, you just got to be able to solve problems quickly. Probably.
exactly,
It's like-
yeah, at the right price.
And that's where communication could come in. Hey, this is happening. Just want to let you know. I'm sure that they
But
appreciate
at
that.
the end of it, it's so simple. I mean, it's trash. We need it gone. Like,
Yeah.
like that's it.
Yeah.
Like it's not like we're not creating a video. Like it's just I need it gone. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What insights would you share to other small businesses looking to enter this industry?
like
That's
dumpster rental
I-
or
Yeah, junk removal.
Yeah.
removal?
Just-
I would
I mean,
say
maybe you don't want to say that.
no.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think a few things is you need to understand marketing. You need to know what you're going after because I think to get started, brokers are a good option. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough because Kansas City's a tough market right now to break
Yeah.
into. I think in other markets, in other cities, I think absolutely. I talked to other guys like in San Antonio, Colorado. They're like, oh yeah, we started with one truck. We're already up to 4 in like a year and a half.
Wow.
And these trucks are $250,000 easy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
$250 to $300K. So it's like, wow, you're churning enough profit to be able to, loan against something like that. So I'm not saying Kansas City is a hard market to get into. I mean, it probably is, but I think there's plenty of markets.
Why do you think Kansas City has exploded? I know I've been in a group where there was a company that was doing a lot of work at the airport. So the tear out and the things that are happening up there. But it seems like I think you're right. I think there are a lot of even trash companies now. Trash removal in general, it feels like that's exploded. You used to have Deffenbaugh.
Yeah. Now
there's like a bunch of different ones.
So there's a few reasons. One of the main reasons is so you already have everybody knows Waste Management and Republic.
Yep.
So those guys, a smaller guy like us, we can always outbid them. We can provide better service, everything across the board. The only problem is some of these contracts are 5 to 6 years of trash. So you have to get it at the exact right time. And if you're in, you're in. But if you're not, forget it. The other thing is there's about 3 other large independent haulers. In the northeast area, there's a company called Waste Connections, which is basically a form of Waste Management Republic, and they have a huge market share. And they've never entered Kansas City market because there's about, like I said, 3 independent, Casey Dumpster, My Dumpster Guy, and then Metro. And all 3 of them operate either their own landfill or transfer station, which then turns into they can basically double dip. So not only do they charge for the dumpster, but they also charge for the disposal of the trash. It's like it's just turns super.
Have you thought
profitable.
about trying to get your own transfer station?
Yes, that's in the works, but it requires a lot of capital investment, and I feel like there's already enough transfer stations.
There are, and it's funny you say that because I talked to a guy last year. He wanted to do the same thing, start junk removal, which he did, and then open a transfer station. And I'm thinking, man, it's a good idea because everyone's going to the one down over near Independence.
Yeah,
Falcon
Mark II Metro.
Or Mark II, yeah. It's interesting because junk removal, I mean, the demand is there for people to come in and start. I mean, we know a person who just started.
Yeah, I talked to him on the way over. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know how he's doing, but I imagine he has
he
enough
said
work.
it's good. Yeah, he's trying to get his Google business verified, but
yeah. I mean,
You know
he just
anybody can
started.
help him with that?
Oh yeah, I know. He needs. But also the gentleman you were telling me about, who is helping you. I mean, just the amount of business he's been able to procure in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
What'd you say? It was like half a year.
yeah, and he's already done I think he said 70, 80 jobs since
Yeah.
June.
Yeah. I mean,
So there's a need.
it's there.
Residential or commercial, there's always going to be a need.
Yeah. Trying to make Kansas City less trashy.
I feel
It's
like
not
there.
trashy.
we need a drummer. Bing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and I don't know if you had anything else, David, that you wanted to hit. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, I just want to know, like I said earlier, we're at the end of the year. What's next for you and what's next for Crown Dumpster?
I think a couple things. This junk removal, to get in with contractors, general contractors, I'm talking like the J. Dunn's, Brinkman's, McCown Gordon, people like that, you really need to bring something that's not revolutionary, but something that's different about you.
Yeah.
And I think the labor side of combining it together and really focusing on if this is something, because we're going to, the plan tentatively is to use a staffing agency to mitigate the risk to start out. So it's less of a risk for me to have to get, comp, insurance, all this other things, just have it on somebody else's payroll, tack on the workers, and then provide the dumpsters. So that's kind of really the goal. And then obviously more trucks, more drivers, and an administrator for me. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's really.
What about you personally?
Well, I'm getting married in
Yeah.
September.
Yeah, that's right.
So-
Yeah.
so,
Congrats. Yeah.
And-
I know you're not going to be able to do anything next year, man. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, yeah, we're going
Yeah.
wedding planning today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think I told you, I got married earlier this year.
yeah, it was crazy
And,
time for you too.
I know. If I were to give any advice, I know you didn't ask, but if I were to give any advice, its balance is going to be extremely important.
Yeah.
Because that takes quite a bit. Like getting married, especially not just going to the courthouse, it takes a lot.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. And you can do it, and it's great. And the day is going to be the most memorable day of your life.
Yeah.
But get ready, because doing that and business, it takes a lot.
It takes a toll.
Yeah, it takes a lot, but it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm having gone through that, I feel like I am a better man.
Yeah.
Frankly. So I feel like I know what I'm capable of. So yeah, you're going to experience that. It's going to be cool.
It'll be. Yeah, I'm excited.
You got to plan your balance time, by the way.
Oh
Just
yeah.
a little
Yeah.
advice, because what happens in business is it just kind of takes over.
Yeah.
And it gets out of control, and it starts leading you around. And I think you just got to be intentional about spending time with your family.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
maybe even put it on your calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Seriously.
Seriously,
Yeah.
because it'll you'll get locked in on something or solving some problem, or I got to do this, I got to do that, and if you'll put kind of some barriers around that. Not that this podcast needs digital disruptors, but that'll help a lot. And then communicate. That's a big
Yeah,
thing.
Number
It's
one.
always-
Number one. Yeah.
yeah, that's a big deal. Well, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
It's,
Yeah.
I feel like I've learned something just about the dumpster business today. So that's really awesome.
Great. Yeah. Awesome.
If
Facility
somebody was
here.
going to get a hold of you, somebody needed to get something done, how would they do that?
They could just go to our website, check it out, Crown Dumpster. And then if you just type that in, we should be the first one. Hopefully, it pops up.
Well,
with not the sponsored ad.
David?
Not me.
We didn't mean to go there.
But
No,
yeah,
that's
Crown
great. So they would
Dumpster.
just, and they could.
Or LinkedIn to direct message me, of course. Yeah.
And if you're a project manager or somebody with McCown Gordon, some of the bigger places, you need to give you a call, right? They can find
Absolutely.
you on LinkedIn, probably, right?
LinkedIn, however, phone number, they can text, whatever. Yeah,
Well,
it's all there.
thanks a lot. I appreciate everybody watching. Please, subscribe to our content, share it. We're putting stuff out on TikTok, Instagram, it's going LinkedIn, all the places, YouTube. But be sure to subscribe so you can see all the fun stuff that we have coming out. There's a lot more coming. So
A lot more.
this is the Digital Disruptors Podcast.
Take care, everyone.